How to survive a PRS day. It was PRS or PRO day here in the UK yesterday, and yeah, it's always a big day in the calendar of a library or production music composer. If you're watching this, you'll probably know why. Essentially, you get paid your royalties on a quarterly basis. And if library music or production music is your primary income, that means that you are, well, it's basically what you're going to live on for the next 4 months to a certain extent, 3 months rather, to a certain extent. Here in the UK, with our PRS, we get paid in December, which is what it is now, and then there's not another payment until April. It's a long time, very long time. So it always feels like a big day in the calendar. I do have them in my diary, and I think if you look online and follow, various Facebook pages of composers, everyone's like, "Oh, it's PRS day," and it's a big one. And it'll be the same if you're in ASCAP or GEMA or whatever you're in other parts of the world as well. It can be a really stressful day. Always seems to be a lot riding on it. So I didn't maybe deal with it that well in the past. And so I thought I'd make a bit of a video with some ideas about how I think hopefully I can help cope with the stress of PRS day, PRO day, if you like. Some lessons I've learned from the past and some things that I could do differently. And I think it's also really important to think about, well, what is it? How do you cope with PRS day if it's not what you're expecting? And boy, have I had a lot of those. Okay, so first thing to say is that, well, PRS figures come out literally at 8:30 in the morning. So yesterday, of course, I was sitting at my computer at 8:35 trying to get on the PRS website in a massive queue, and it took 10 or 15 minutes or more. And you have a sense of, well, this is either going to make my day or break my day. And I don't think that's particularly helpful. I did read online on some of the Facebook pages of people that have been like just refreshing the page since 7 in the morning. And it got me thinking, actually, this is totally wrong, because I have a sense of this being in total control of my whole day if I do that. And it struck me that actually a much better idea is to do what we do. For me, I compose in the morning. So if I could resist the temptation, I would do what I could do and do what I normally do in the morning. I think is a better idea. Do my composing, get my day's work done, or some important part of the day done in a neutral frame of mind, unaffected by whether I've got a good payment or not. Get that done, and then take control and think, well, okay, at 1 o'clock before lunchtime, for example, I'm going to check my PRS figures then. And I think there's something about taking control of your day and taking control back that's really, really important. It's the opposite, the converse sort of sitting there from 7 in the morning, refreshing, desperately waiting, which seems to me, that it's got too much hold and too much power over you. The other thing I think is really important is to decide what you're going to do after opening it, irrespective of whether it's good news or not. You're going to go for a walk to process. You're going to go somewhere for a cup of tea and get out of your studio just to process. Or you're just literally just going to get on with your work, with whatever it is, regardless of whether it's good or not, on an emotional sort of level. And I think that's really important to sort of just be able to, again, to control this, so that it's not ruling your life and it's not sort of influencing your mood too much. But I think it's really important that actually you do later in the day, maybe, or another time, just sort of set aside some time to either scream into a pillow with frustration or jump in the air with elation or whatever it is you need to do, because an emotional response is really important. But I think if you can possibly just hold on to that it's not that useful or helpful sometimes to do it directly after. So these are all ways of cushioning the blow, I think, if you don't get what you want. Ways of emotionally regulating. And maybe I'm just being too dramatic about this, but for me, it's quite it's a big thing. This is my main income, and I had 3 years of disappointing PRS payments. month after, quarter after quarter after quarter of misery. So, I think it is a really, really big thing. Okay, next thing is well, for me, particularly, the way I think about things is to look at each payment within a much wider context. So I'm at the moment, I'm what, 6 years in now, I'm looking on a yearly basis to see whether my earnings are going up, down, or whatever per year. And at the end of my financial year, I'm still at the moment making a decision. Okay, is this something that I'm going to do for another year or not? I haven't got a 10 or 15 year view, which would sort of make that less pertinent every year. So at the moment, it's a yearly decision for me. So if I get one poor quarter, then that's okay. That's not the most important figure. The most important figure is how much I've earned at the end of the year. So looking at it within your 5-year plan, I'm literally working in a decade plan here. My long-term goal is to try this for a decade, for 10 years, get roughly 1,000 tracks or so into libraries before making a final decision on whether this is a goer for another 10 years or not, even though I am thinking yearly, but I do have a 10-year plan on this. So this one quarter, be it good or not, isn't to a certain extent that vital within the overall plan. It's the overall trajectory over a year and over a 5 and 10 year span that's really important. So putting this one day and this one payment into context can really help, and it's really important. So if you're trying to work out, you need to compare your results with the year before. So you're comparing like for like. It's no good comparing, the first quarter's payment with the last quarter's payment, or vice versa or something. It doesn't really work like that because they're not the same throughout the year. In my experience, the year tends to go up and the December payment is the biggest of the year. So the next one I get in April tends to be the smaller. I don't know. I've only got like 3 years of payments to really sort of make a comparison with, or real payments to make a comparison with, because as I say, the first 3 years I earned diddly squat. So I think once you get going, comparing, say, for example, this December payment, which I've just got, with last December payments, that's a useful thing to compare. But it's not particularly useful or helpful to compare this December with last April, because you'll be thinking, well, actually, come next April, I should be getting the same as I got in December, and that actually does not count. So comparing like for like, year on year, and thinking of it as a whole year's earnings rather than a quarterly earning is really, really important. Within all of this, and I'm talking here from a relatively privileged position, I realise, because not everybody can do this or has had the opportunities that I've had to do this. If this is one of your primary incomes and you are literally living on a hand to mouth, this is going to be massively stressful, particularly this time of year in the winter. It's almost, so what I'm meaning is, how much money do I literally have to live on? Can I pay my rent for the next 3 months? Phenomenally stressful. My advice, and I realise that this is coming from a middle-aged man who's worked all his life and has had lots of opportunity, and people don't have this, I understand that. But if you can, I currently have, I could live a year or more without earning any money with my savings. And I say that just because I think it's a helpful thing. If you can save a big buffer so that you've got, so that the current earnings aren't going to immediately impact you, and you can make adjustments as you go along. I think that's vitally important. If you can do it so you're not living off what you're immediately earning, but you're sort of living off what you earned a year ago, and you have a 6 month or a year buffer in the bank, it really, really sweetens the deal. And I would go as far as to say that if you can't do that, this isn't the right thing to be doing at the moment. I think if I had to do that at the moment, I would be doing a sort of transactional job where I was getting paid for the number of hours I'm doing music on the side. So I had some sort of regular income, I think, because this is the royalties. In my experience, it's irregular. it's unpredictable, it's volatile. I'm really lucky. Mine are on an upward trajectory, but that may well change. I'm also really lucky in that my background has allowed me to save and have this financial buffer, and I'm well aware that other people do not have those, that sort of capacity, particularly in this sort of current financial climate. So if you do think that it's going to be a hand to mouth, I wouldn't have it as my main source of income. I don't think. I think it's too risky, unless you don't have dependents. Maybe I would have done in my early 20s when I didn't have children and I didn't have a mortgage and so on and so forth. I don't know. It's personal circumstance, isn't it? But I don't think it's a great idea. The other thing, I think, whatever you get, I think if you get any money from this, in a way, it's an absolute bloody miracle. If you think of the hoops that you have to jump through. And it's the same, starting any business is really hard. It takes years to make money and in a lot of setting up businesses. But if you think about the complication of getting a track to production music standard and quality for a start, getting a library to accept it, getting it actually published in the library, and an editor or a production company choosing that track, picking it up, using it and putting it in their production, getting it, then it going live on air, then getting the cue sheets back to the PRO finally collecting the money from the production companies and the transmission people, paying you eventually. It's an absolute miracle that you actually get any money from this at all. And I think that's not even thinking about the back end of you getting to the standard of being able to, get music out there that's accepted. And I think if you're earning any money from this, it's a massive achievement. There's so many moving parts and so many variable factors that, I think we have to be grateful. And the other thing also, I think, is thinking of money as we are. This isn't, as I've said in videos before, this isn't to me, and I don't think it should be to anybody, a financial decision to do this for your living. It's not a financial decision for me. The money's important. Yes, I want to be paid fairly and properly and well for my work. Yes, I think I have equal talents to a lawyer or a doctor, or the equal amount of experience and learning and expertise, and I would love to be paid that amount. I think I'm worth that. But this is for me, it's a lifestyle choice, if that makes sense. It's not primarily about money. It's to do with how I spend my time, and I spend my time writing music, doing something I absolutely love, something that feeds my soul. And to me, that's more important than earning huge amounts of money. So I think that reframe for me was really, really important. A long time ago, 3 years ago, when I was earning nothing from this, really, my days were beautiful. I love writing music and the life that this affords me. And the payoff to that sometimes is actually the insecurity of whether you're going to get paid in your royalties or not. And, you have to sort of put up with that to a certain extent, I think. The other thing also, I think, is it's really interesting and really helpful if you do get a bad payment or a really good payment or whatever, is just to try and have a little bit of a search around a few days later and see what the general feel is online. I think the PRS generally says, okay, well, we're paying more this time or less this time. Everybody on the Facebook pages is saying, have you had a good payment or not this year? And you can sort of gauge whether it's going up or down, and then compare yourself with that, which can be a really, really helpful barometer. If everybody's is going up and yours is going down, then I don't know, maybe you're not writing enough, or you need to look at the quality of what you're doing or the libraries you're sending stuff to. If everybody's, going down and you're going up, all good, you're on the right path. So just sort of balancing and gauging against the industry, I think, is really important before you jump to any conclusions or make any rash decisions. So I hope that was helpful. If you are actually here at the end of the video, well done to you. I'm assuming most likely you are doing what I'm doing, and you are opening your PRO statement on a quarterly basis. So good luck to you, and respect to you if you're earning any money, because you're doing a great job. I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. Do just say hello. It'd be really, really nice. It's so lovely when people do comment. And I hope to see you in another video. Thanks very much then. Bye bye.